Welcome to Politics and Psychology. And in case you're wondering, yes, Donald Trump is lying. One of the ways that you can tell if a person is lying or if Donald Trump is lying is because that person or Trump, they repeatedly try to change the narrative. When the narrative changing doesn't work, they try to then use distraction. So some of the distractions just this week alone were to try to get individuals, the public, and biased news media to not focus on Donald Trump's involvement and association with Jeffrey Epstein, who was, quote unquote, killed or committed suicide because of his death and involvement in human trafficking on the Epstein Island. Epstein is purported to have records and videotapes of other individuals, high-profile persons, very wealthy persons who traveled to his Epstein Island to engage in uncontrolled or unmonitored, non-regulated, non-police monitored sexual activities, including human trafficking and the sexual abuse of children, otherwise known as pedophilia. We have videos that you can find, unfortunately, on YouTube of where he was engaging in these acts with young women, with women who were minors, and not because they were 17 or 16, but 15 and 14, very young women. Many of the individuals who came to Epstein's Island were engaging in these sexual acts also with these minors. And one of the things that Donald Trump promised to his voters for this second campaign was that he would expose the Epstein files, that he would bring all of this corruption and this conspiracy, he would shed light on it, they would have quote unquote transparency, and that they would let everyone know what the Democrats, quote unquote, have been hiding, and that he would bring everything to light. This is also what Kash Patel, for years, who is now the FBI director, they have been for years talking about how there is a conspiracy and a cover-up by the Democrats to protect high-profile individuals who were engaging in human trafficking and pedophilia, specifically at the Epstein Island and specifically in association with Jeffrey Epstein himself. Trump is a long-time friend, or was a long-term friend of Epstein, and we have videos of them partying together. We already have audio of Epstein talking about his acquaintance with Trump, even his knowings with going on in the White House, and how Trump was a frequent visitor of the Epstein Island. So, of course, because now the DOJ and the FBI are actually involved in being able to see what's in these tapes, what's in these files, they are being pressured by Donald Trump to suppress that information and to not release it, because it would be damaging to him. Now, normally, Trump's lying, his distraction techniques have been extremely successful, so much so that individuals were willing to forget that he has been convicted of 34 felony charges and that he has already been associated with sexual abuse and sexual misconduct, not once, not twice, not even 10 times, but multiple times for which there have been legitimate lawsuits against him. So when you have someone who already has a questionable background of sexual or sexually deviant behavior, when you have someone whose wife was a former, not an actual pornography star, but was a nude model for centerfold magazines for men, when you have someone who consistently partied with individuals who are known pedophiles and who are known sexual deviants, and then when that person, Trump, is trying to suppress his association and trying to suppress evidence that could clear him if he's innocent or could negatively go against him if he were indeed found to be guilty. But when you have someone lying and trying to distract you, then it makes it even more clear that they are guilty. And then it makes it even more clear that they are lying to cover up their guilt. So just this week alone, you have where he is now trying to distract by saying, okay, well, I'm going to deport Rosie O'Donnell. She responded, of course, back on Instagram in a very lengthy post, which was very well written, by the way. And then none of his base fell for that. So then he tried to focus on, okay, well, I'm going to bring up Russia, I'm going to bring up Ukraine, and I'm going to slap on tariffs. So then he tried two more tactics to try to get individuals distracted and to not talk about the Epstein files. Then, during a White House press conference or press briefing, he was again questioned and was asked, are you going to have a special counsel to investigate the Epstein files? And his response was, why are we still talking about this? The guy has been dead, or the guy just won't die. So he's repeatedly going into, okay, let's just get over it. Let's just get over it and just forget about these kind of things. And now recently he has been saying, oh, well, this was all a hoax. And this is a hoax by the Democrats. So what he tried to do was to distract his main voter base by saying this is a Democrat hoax and trying to get them so upset and so riled up against the Democrats that they would then be distracted by their own partisan bias and therefore not even listen to anything else that could be legitimate or that could be factual. That didn't work. So then he tried to bring up tariffs to try to get the money people who are more educated, maybe worrying about stocks or even just worrying about your price of eggs, quote unquote, since that was the reason for many people voting for him. So then he tried to prey on their fears of economic poverty or economic insecurity. And then when that didn't work, he tried to rile up a very consistently loyal part of his base, which are those who are racist. So that's when he's throwing in, oh, well, this was what Obama created. And so because that still didn't work, and even the individuals who are racist and very much supportive of his racist ideals, because that didn't work, which he was assuming would have been a shoo-in, now all of a sudden, now he's going to try to play the victim card yet again. But in this way, he's using it as far as his medical frailty. So today, if you haven't learned or read or heard about it, then he's talking about how he has a vein issue that's causing him to have swelling in his hands, swelling his ankles and his legs. And so what he is trying to do is a very common tactic that is used when you have expert testimony and witnesses that you're trying to develop for their image when they go on the stand. You try to make them look as weak or as innocent as possible. So if they have a backache, then they are really walking in and playing up this back hurting, or they're uncomfortable in their chairs, or they can't sit still, or they're taking medication, or they're walking with a cane. Or you try to make them look as innocently as possible. So they're wearing nothing as far as makeup or very low makeup. Their hair is combed, not a whole bunch of very fashion-forward hairstyles or designs, very plain nail polish, very basic shoes, very basic clothes, the whole cardigan, very looking innocent, Mr. Rogers kind of look. And you also then will play up, well, this person is about to die, this person has cancer, this person is sick. So we have to then feel sorry for this person and get distracted by their actual real criminal activity. So with Trump, now saying that he has this vein disorder, which is a very common issue. Anyone who has varicose veins, that's pretty much all it is. It's nothing major. But he's making it in the timing of it as another way to distract. And because he has been so prolifically proud of his false cognitive test, and I say false because from a psychological standpoint, it's a screening and not a true psychological assessment. But he has really launched or, clinched onto this and using it as his end-all be-all for how he views himself as intellectually superior, when it's just a very basic screening that really has no psychological validity. He also was really hyping up his medical exam and his recent physical exam. So how do we go from him being so proud of his clean bill of health that was extremely biased and written by a medical professional that he selected, and you could tell he gave the language on what you write in that medical exam write-up for his physical fitness. So you're going from that, no problems at all for his health, to now all of a sudden there is an issue with his health. And his health issue with the veins just happened to come out same week of when the other 3 attempts on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday didn't work. So his 4th attempt, which was be on Thursday today, the 4th day of the week, is to now claim frailty. So again, because we can see from his behavior pattern that not only is he a pathological liar, but when he is not able to intimidate individuals to not investigate him or to not hold him accountable, then he will then use distraction techniques to then make them fearful, anxious, or angry about something else. When that hasn't been working because it's involving pedophilia and human sex trafficking, then he's going to now try to make himself be a victim to not only make it a distraction, but to also give himself time from the media cycle to then create another lie to then justify no longer releasing the Epstein files and covering up the real reason and the real method of how Jeffrey Epstein was killed or how he died. So when you see anyone having behavior patterns such as this, then you can recognize that they too are lying to you and that they are a pathological liar. And here are 9 basic behavioral signs that you can tell if Trump or someone that you know or someone you're considering voting for is also a pathological or a compulsive liar. So 1 is that they lie about a wide range of topics. And that leads into 2, they're just lying for no reason. It could be a small thing, it could be a big thing, but they are just lying just for the sake of lying. So then you also have 4, that they have no worry about being caught. And part of this is because many individuals who are pathological liars do have traits of narcissism. And narcissism means that they believe within themselves that they are intellectually or in some way superior to others, so that even when they lie, their lying is an example of how intelligent or how intellectually superior they are. And so because of that, they have no fear of being caught in their lie. In contrast to that, they may not have any fear, but they may become angry when you are even confronting them about their lie. So that's number 6. If they become defensive or angry when confronted. 7, they will also continue to lie even when confronted with the truth and with multiple facts or even with multiple points of evidence. 8, they continue to make changes to the story the more they tell it. So that leads us into 9. The one way they can try to avoid being caught in their lie is to minimize the amount of times they have to tell their lie. So then you will see this person then shutting down any questions, refusing to give you any answers or any explanations about their lie, or refusing to explain when there's a contradiction in what they said and what you know the truth to be. So those are just 9 basic behavioral signs of a compulsive or pathological liar that you can also play bingo with to see what Trump does these next coming weeks in response to the Epstein files, and again with anyone that you may know in your life or someone you are considering voting for in Congress. So when you see all of these signs, and when a liar knows that these tricks of his or hers are not working, that's when you have an escalation of distraction and avoidance behaviors. They will try to distract you from even engaging or confronting them in their lies. So the good thing is that this lets you know that they are recognizing that you're becoming more aware that they are not being honest. So if since the November 2024 presidential elections, if you have been unable to connect or converse with loved ones, coworkers, or friends because of the outcome or because of their voting decision, then hopefully you can be united on being against child trafficking, human slave labor, and pedophilia. And you can use these facts that we have discussed today. You can monitor Trump's behavior. You can see similar behavior patterns in other high-profile elected officials, and you can use that as a starting point in a conversation on who to vote for or for whom to vote for that would be best for your state and for our country, but also who to not vote for and what to fight against when it comes to victimizing children and other individuals who are vulnerable and helpless, and not protecting the individuals who are high profile and very wealthy and very socially connected, so much so that they can not only have a president suppress information about well-known facts of human trafficking, about well-known lists of individuals who are involved in the sexually deviant behavior, or if nothing else, being aware of the sexually deviant behavior that was happening on the Epstein Island, then if we can collaborate with not protecting those individuals and not normalizing that being a perpetrator of sexual abuse or of victimizing or of trafficking is something that the wealthy can be protected from, then we can then at least make some progress in so much of the chaos that we have experienced since January of 2025. And if you're listening to this, I definitely appreciate you for your patience. And part of the conflict I've had is that with the November 24 election, I've been really, really busy, and I haven't been able to have enough time to do a lot of the research that I usually do and dedicate to put into our time together on Thursday. And my goal is to definitely inform and also to be a catalyst for meaningful conversations for change for our country. So if these shorter episodes are still meaningful or beneficial to you, can you please let me know either in the comment section, the direct messaging, or email, and I'll put all of the contact information in the description box for this episode. But either way, if you can still remember what we talked about today, use this to make an informed decision and to be aware of what is happening in massive media manipulation that's led by a high-profile politician, including the President of the United States. And if you can continue this conversation to also enlighten and inform others. But as always, when you do continue the conversation, please do so using science and love.
And if you run